my name is Aria with Aria Music Studios in Kennesaw, Georgia. The song I just played for you is called Auld Lang Syne, which is an old Scottish tune that translates to Times Gone By, which means that all the wonderful times that we've spent with our friends and family this year shouldn't be forgotten. And I thought that was a great way to start out the beginning of 2017. So I bring to you today your first violin lesson in a series of several that I'll be posting weekly for the next couple of months. In these lessons, we'll be covering the fundamentals of playing the instrument as well as sight reading and music theory. So follow me along. Enjoy. All right, the first thing we're going to cover is the name of the parts of the violin and the uses of them. So starting at the top of the violin, right here, we have what's called the scroll. And it's an easy name to remember. If you look at the side, it looks kind of like those old paper scrolls that rolled up. And right here we have the pegs, which are housed in the peg box. And the pegs, the purpose of the pegs is to tune the violin. If the pitch is too high or too low, you're going to turn these to tune the violin. All right, these are the strings. This is obviously what makes the sound on the instrument. This is the fingerboard underneath the black part, and that is where you're going to put your fingers to make different pitches on the instrument. Back here, this whole thing is called the neck of the violin, and we will be using this whole thing eventually to slide our hand up and down to make even more pitches up the violin. All right, down here we have the bridge, all right, and the bridge is meant to hold the strings up off of the violin to give them tension so that they'll make a good sound. All right, down here, now you'll notice I only have one, but you may have up to 4 on your violin. This is called the fine tuner. And the purpose of this is if your instrument is only a little bit out of pitch, you're going to use these to adjust it, as it only adjusts a slight amount. Right here we have the tail piece, and this holds all of the strings on. Down here is the chin rest, and that is where you're going to place your chin when you play. All right, on the back, I have a shoulder rest. Now this piece does not come with the violin, and it is actually detachable. What you want to do is when you go to the music store to get your first violin, request that you get a shoulder rest to match, because it is going to be very important to your posture and your comfort when playing. All right, moving on to the bow. This is the instrument that you are going to use to play your strings. So I am going to start right up here. This is called the tip of the bow, and this is an important thing to remember later, as sometimes you need to start at the tip to play and sometimes you don't. All right, this wooden part here is simply called the bow stick, pretty easy to remember. The white part right here is called the bow hair. Interesting fact, this is usually made with horsehair because it's one of the best kinds of hair to grab onto the string and make the strings vibrate and create a sound. Okay, right here we have the finger grip, and this is where your fingers are gonna, or at least some of your fingers are gonna rest while you play. Down here we have the frog, and this actually holds on to the bottom of the bow hair, and you are going to use this phrase a lot too as you play, because sometimes you'll be starting at the frog and sometimes at the tip. All right, down here we have a little pin that actually twists counterclockwise and clockwise, and this is very important. Right before you play, you want to tighten your bow to the point where you can see that either you can fit another bow stick in the middle, you can just fit one, or you can just fit your pinky in between. It's very important that you don't over tighten or leave your bow too loose. If you over tighten it, it can warp the wood later and you'll end up having to replace your bow. When you're done, make sure that you twist this counterclockwise to loosen your bow. And you'll see that the tension of the hair is going down, and you want it to go down just to where it almost touches the bow stick. Another thing that you're going to want to ask for when you get your violin is this little thing called rosin, and it's very important for making your strings vibrate and making the sound of the violin. If you don't have this, you might just get kind of a whispery sound, and it's not going to sound good at all. The main ingredient in this is tree sap, and kind of silly, but it actually makes the bow hair sticky, and that makes the bow hair grip onto the strings and vibrate them. Another thing to note about rosin is that it does get all over your strings and all over your violin. So very important, at the end of your practice session, always take a lint-free cloth and wipe down your strings and any parts of your violin or bow that have rosin on. All right, let's learn how to hold the violin and the bow properly. So holding the violin itself is pretty simple. What you want to do is start out by holding the left side of the violin outwards from you. Now, once you've got that down, twist the violin around and bring it in gently to your left shoulder. And it's going to be held down by kind of the side of your chin, not really like this, but you want your head to be in a comfortable position to play. And this is our starting position for holding the violin. Later on, we will be using the fingerboard, as you saw me doing in the previous video, but for now, this is the simplified version. Holding the bow tends to be a little bit more troublesome, and it might take you a little bit longer to get than holding the violin, but just hang in there. It does take a little bit of time, and it's a little bit uncomfortable, but you will get used to it. So most of your fingers are going to be on this middle part, which we learned previously is called the frog. Okay, what you want to do is make a circle with your middle finger and your thumb. Now, take that circle that you made and put it around. So you want one finger on each side, and you want them to be together like that and curved. So you're making a circle with these two fingers, okay? Now, very slowly, you want to put down your ring finger on the frog. You want your pinky to rest right on the top, and you want your index finger to be on the bow grip, okay? And this position, it might seem kind of a silly way to hold the bow, but this really helps you to have balance among all of your fingers. And also later, when you want to play softer or louder, you're going to use different fingers to press down or hold back to be able to do different volumes and different techniques. So once again, circle, all right, around the frog, ring finger down, pinky down, index finger down here. This is what it looks like from this side and from here, okay? And as you can see, all of my fingers always are curved. That's the biggest issue with most new violinists, is that their fingers tend to straighten out because they're not really relaxed. But if you keep your fingers relaxed, make sure that they're curved all the time, it's going to be a lot easier. All right, I know you guys are pretty eager to learn how to play on the violin. So let's begin with one string. This string that is closest to the skinniest string on the violin is called the A string. And this is the first string that we're going to play on. So to review on how to hold the violin and bow, you're going to bring it out in front of you to the left side, flip it over, bring it in slowly, put your chin on it. All right, and then with your bow, we have the circle, put around the frog, put down your ring finger, index finger, and pinky on the top. All right, so now that we have that all set up, the thing that you want to focus on when you're playing on the strings is the level of your bow. And so if your arm is too high up, then you're going to be playing on the wrong string. Same thing if your arm is too low down. You want it to line up right in the middle to where it only hits one string at a time. So in this case, we're going to have our elbow, our wrist, our shoulder, and our violin kind of in a square shape. So you're going to hold your arm up like this, not too high. You want to keep your elbow below your shoulder. And then we're just going to really slowly, from the frog to the tip of the bow, just give a long bow stroke. Okay, and you'll notice that I did one down and then I did one up. And this is how you're going to usually play, just down and up continuously for continuous notes. All right, so again, from the frog to the tip. And then from the tip to the frog. Okay, and you will notice that my bow bow is actually right between the fingerboard and the bridge. It's right in the middle, and it's remaining parallel with the bridge. That's the zone that you're going to get the best sound out of, and later on we will go over playing on other parts of the violin. But for now, I want you to keep it right in the middle there. Okay, so now that we've learned the A string, let's move on to the D string. We're only going to learn 2 strings in the first lesson, and we will cover the other ones later. The D string is the next thickest string. It's right next to the A string. Okay, and for the D string, you're going to need to raise your elbow up just a little bit more than you did for the A string, just to get that level right. And we're going to do the same thing on the D string that we did on the A string. Okay, so practice this week doing the bow stroke up and down on the A string and the D string, just getting nice smooth sounds and using the full length of your bow. All right, that concludes our first violin lesson, the lesson of this week. What I would recommend now is that you practice a minimum of 15 minutes a day in the things that we've learned today, including the how to hold the violin, how to hold the bow, and how to have a nice long straight bow stroke on the D string and the A string. If you have any questions, feel free to comment on this video and I'll answer them as soon as I can. You can also email me at ariamusickennesaw@gmail.com. That's ariamusickennesaw@gmail.com. And if you're interested in signing up for lessons, feel free to call our studio. Our number is 678-926-4602. And happy practicing. I'll see you in the next video.